speaker.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight, in just a few minutes from now, we are going to be doing some time travel, but in reverse. We will be teleported 1,500 miles to Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, where the local time is 1 hour earlier and where tonight's presentation on home automation will originate from. Here is a brief bio of tonight's speaker, Mr. William Bill James. Bill James had two, more or less, concurrent careers. His primary career was as a systems analyst for the Federal Aviation Administration, from which, after many years working there, he retired. His secondary career was as an information technology specialist in the United States Army Reserve, from which he retired at the rank of Chief Warrant Officer 3. He is a past two-term president of the Computer Club of Oklahoma City and is now its vice president of operations. He has been a member of its board of directors for the past 21 years, and he has previously served on the APCUG's board of directors. He is now the U.S. Region 8 advisor of the APCUG. Bill is a member of Microsoft's Insider program, and as such is given access to its new concepts and ideas in exchange for his providing them with valuable feedback. Bill is also the Oklahoma City Computer Club's go-to person on everything Android. On the personal side, Bill is an active member of the Toastmasters International Club and is an accomplished public speaker. Lastly, he's on the board of directors of North Care Center, a private nonprofit behavioral and social services facility in Oklahoma City. Okay, I've just received the signal that our teleportation is now complete. We have arrived in Oklahoma City. So Bill, welcome, and the microphone is now yours. Can't hear anything.
Well, hold on. Let me get out of what I've got myself into here.
Something happened.
Okay. Well, thank you, Jerry, for that wonderful introduction. I think people might think I walk on water, which that is not true. But anyway, it's a pleasure to be able to give you this presentation this afternoon. And we're going to talk about home automation and tips and tricks. Of course, this presentation is being brought to you by our APCU Speakers Bureau, and it is a benefit of your group's membership in APCUG. So let's talk about the smart home. It's a place that anticipates your needs and empowers you to fine-tune your environment. Now, I got first involved in home automation purely by accident. I bought a device and to do some voice control for a TV. And then I discovered I could do other things with it. And so that's what got me into it. So I'm going to share some of those devices with you this evening and how I use them. But first, I'm going to tell you about how you can fine-tune your environment. At least that's the pitch we're going to make. So putting it all together isn't a smooth ride, but the right setup and the combination of devices can make your life easier and add real convenience. With a myriad of ecosystems and standards to navigate, not to mention the diverse array of devices, the smart home scene is and can be daunting. But we're going to make it easy for you. We're going to explain some of the terminology, and so you can understand the jargon and understand the consequences of the choices that you make. A little planning will go a long way. So the first thing, of course, you need to consider is the budget. How much do you really want to spend on this? Do you want to do it now, or do you want to do it 6 months or a year? Rolling out your smart home in stages really helps spread out the cost. It also helps you understand more about what you need to do and how things work. So I surely wouldn't recommend you go out and just buy a bunch of stuff and start trying to put that together, because that right there will be a complete turnoff for you if you run into any kind of problems. But you do have to be somewhat comfortable with electrical work, know how your plumbing and how your heating and air conditioning system work. But if you don't want to do that, you can always hire a professional to do it. But my recommendation is to start small. You also need to decide on an ecosystem. And when we say an ecosystem, we're talking about Google, Amazon, or Apple. And the brand names those are under is Google Nest, Amazon Alexa, and Apple HomeKit. The Google Nest has what they refer to as the Google Assistant, and it's a voice assistant that allows you to issue commands to have other devices react. And it's really good because it will swiftly respond to your voice commands, is smart enough for a conversational style of speaking, and understands complicated commands as well. And if you have an Android device, such as a phone or a tablet, Google Assistant is usually baked in, and the Google Home offers quick access to your smart home shortcuts. Now, interesting, a side note is the new Volvo electric car, which is called the Volvo Recharge, has a brand of Google Assistant built into it. So not only will it control the car, but it also, that device that's built in the car will also control your home devices. So you could come in and tell the car to open the garage door and that would happen, or have it turn on the lights, you could do that. So Google is really spreading out into a lot of areas beyond the home. The other one is Amazon Alexa. It's had a head start in the smart home arena, and it also has the widest range of compatible products. I'm sure you hear about in advertisements, this works with Alexa. Its speakers and small displays are most affordable, especially if you wait for the big sale events like Prime Day. The other one is the Apple HomeKit, and it lets you configure and communicate with your home appliances using Apple devices, such as an iPad. So it also functions as a hub for HomeKit, and it's Apple's smart home platform. You just ask Siri, and she will take care of everything for you. Now, one of the things that you will want to include in your purchases is a hub. And these are great for controlling your smart home devices if you have guests that aren't used to voice controls or don't have the right apps installed on their personal smartphones. You can control all your smart home gadgets with your smartphone, whether it's talking to Alexa, Google, Siri, or using an app. Smart displays are very versatile. They offer simple touch controls anyone can use. And having a mix of smart speakers and smart displays throughout your house can always, so that your assistant can always hear you. And you don't need to shout commands too loudly, which is really a good idea. Here at my house, I have a smart display here in my kitchen. I have one in my bedroom. I have another one in my office. So I can tell them, tell the device rather, to operate any device wherever I am. If I'm want to travel to the kitchen and I want the lights on, I just tell it to turn the lights on, and I can do it from whatever room I'm in. So it's important to consider when you're starting your smart home, you want to also consider other people that you live with, as well as the guests who may be unfamiliar with smart home setups. For instance, take smart lighting. You have to leave the light switches in the on position if you want to be able to control them with a voice assistant. But without a physical switch, your guests might be confused. So you will have to explain to them how your devices work. And the other thing is that people are likely to turn off the switches just through habit. I find myself doing that. If I'm not careful, I will go out and go into a room, or go out of a room, sorry, and turn the light switch off. And I'm wondering why I can't turn those lights on. Come to find out, I've turned the switch to the off position. But the other thing too is that if you have children, they may not have access to controls through a phone or be comfortable with voice controls. But you can get around this by buying smart switches, but you want to think carefully about whether you want to replace your original switches or have a second set side by side. So let's talk about these voice assistants. We will talk about Google and Alexa. We will also talk about the Apple product as well. But you have to remember that the Google Home and the Google Echo are not just speakers, but they are part of an ecosystem. So when you choose a Google Home or Echo, you're choosing whether to voice enable your home with Google or Alexa. Both speakers use voice activation to play music, search, almost anything you think that they should do. Like if you want to know what the weather is, you can ask that. If you want to know what the traffic conditions are on your route to work or wherever you happen to be going, you can also ask that. They have the Echo has multiple wake options, but only one voice. That's a difference, is that you can ask this device, you can use the Alexa or Amazon or Echo or computer to bark out any kind of commands. With the Google device, you only have two. You have the hey command or okay, but you have a choice of both male and female voices. And at one time, they had some celebrities that you could also incorporate as as a voice. The Google Assistant is really better with handling free-form web-based queries. You could just speak to it in very plain English and it will understand exactly what you're saying, where the Alexa tends to be a little bit of a stickler for wording and a particular sequence of words. Also, Alexa leans heavily on Wikipedia for its general knowledge questions. Google's search is more comprehensive. Alexa beats Google in shopping related questions, however, and not surprised because it's Amazon. Google Assistant is more conversational, often remembers what you're talking about and lets you carry ideas throughout a conversation. They have something what's called continuing conversation. So you don't have to say the watchword. You can just follow on whatever conversation you start. You'll get a response back from the device and then you'll hear a tone and then you can continue that conversation without having to use the watchword. So it's really makes it really easy to use. So if you ask who was the leading actor in Gone with the Wind, you could follow up with what other movies was he in? Because he'll answer back, I forget the actor now, but and then when that answer comes up, you could ask what other movies was he in and it will respond to you. And that's what they call continuing continued conversation. It's a feature of the Google device. So smart home integration is what we're looking for. So with both these assistants that we've just talked about, it will let you combine your devices into rooms. You can say things like turn on the living room lights. Both support routines, which lets you combine multiple actions into one command. They also link to TVs using their associating streaming stick. So you can ask, hey, hey, G, play Netflix, and give it a name of the movie that you want. Google Home has one big content advantage. It integrates with YouTube. Now, let's talk about the Apple and the Apple HomePod. Apple does not currently have a smart display. It's a speaker with a personal assistant that has Siri built in. You can use it with your Apple Watch, your iPad, your iPhone. With the speaker serving as a HomeKit hub, you can use your voice to control HomeKit compatible devices around your house, including your locks, thermostats, cameras, smoke alarms, when you're not at home. You also can turn the speaker on if it's automatically tuned itself to maximize performance based on its position in the room. And your iPad can also function. If you have an iPad that you leave at home all the time, it can function as a HomePod. So the HomePod can directly connect with Apple Music and play tracks you've iTunes match. You can also ask Siri questions and issue smart home commands. HomePod can have up to 6 users, and Siri can tell you who's speaking, allowing each person in the home to access their own selection of music, playlists, radio stations, and preferences. Now, I know at this point you're asking yourself, well, if I have a Google Home, can I also do things with Apple products? Well, the answer is yes, because you can, and I'll show you, you can use the Google Home on an iPad and have that, you can control it from your iPad. It doesn't have to be an Android device to do that. So there are some crossovers that makes it a little easier to control your devices. They don't all have to be within the same brand, although preferably they will work better if they are, but it's not a necessity. One thing that you have to also keep in mind, you have to have a really good Wi-Fi. So, because these devices all require a reliable Wi-Fi connection, and you'll need to know the two most used frequencies is 2.4 and 5 gigahertz. But most smart homes devices operate on the 2.4 gigahertz frequency. That's going to change some, but the reason why the 2.4 is the preferable one is because it has a better range. But 5 gigahertz offer faster speeds. And I don't know if that's really important with a given device to have the speed, but the range, in my opinion, is really important. So don't be turned off because they're running at 2.4 gigahertz, because what you want is to be able to have access to these devices that might be in several rooms from your router. So so if you are offered the 2.4 and I should say, if you offer the 5 gigahertz and find that you're not able to control that device at the far reaches of your home, you might want to switch it to 2.4 and see if that improves. Also, you want to find a good spot for your router. And if you have a basic router supplied by your internet service provider or an older model, you might want to consider upgrading to a newer router. And some of the other protocols that are used is Bluetooth. Certain smart home devices offer an option to connect via Bluetooth in addition to Wi-Fi, like the Philips Hue bulbs. They will operate on both Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. But Bluetooth is also slower and it's also less reliable, and it also has a shorter distance. So you won't have the range if you have a Bluetooth connection as you would if you had a Wi-Fi connection. Using a dedicated hub can also reduce some of your Wi-Fi congestions and offer some more stability. But there's a trade-off with that. They need power, and they also need a free internet port, or Ethernet port on your router to plug into. Good case in point. If you use Hue bulbs, it has a dedicated hub that has to be connected to your router for it to operate. So that's something to keep in mind when we're talking about placing our devices, at least the controlling part. You want to make sure that you have an electrical outlet, sufficient ports to support what you're trying to do. So if you see, you want to verify your smart home support to see if if a smart home product works with your ecosystem of choice. You want to check the logo on the box or the website. At a minimum, you want to see one of these: works with Google Assistant, works with Alexa, works with Apple HomeKit. And they all have their appropriate logos on the boxes. The one that probably will be the most problematic will be probably the Apple HomeKit. You might find something that you want that says only works with the Apple HomeKit and doesn't work with Alexa or Google Assistant. But I think this is really, over time, it's improving. So you'll find that the device that you're wanting to purchase will work with all three in all three environments. But those logos will ensure a basic level of support. So it means you can connect it to your respective ecosystem and control the gadget with your voice. So under that note we've just said, there is an issue with lack of a common standard, which has really hindered smart home devices. And but that is beginning to change, but it's still confusing. Different wireless standards connect your home's smart home devices behind the scenes. The two most popular examples are Zigbee, and these are is a standard that's used by the Philips Hue, which they're primarily into light bulbs. Logitech, which has a couple products that work in the various environments. LG and Samsung. Now, those two are mostly appliances. And Z-Wave, which is used by Honeywell, GE, and Samsung. Again, we're talking about appliances in this case. With the exception of Honeywell, we're talking about thermostat. But for the most part, these behind-the-scene technologies really don't matter, as you can use a mix of them in your home. And if all things work properly, you'll find that you will not even know that a particular device is using a certain standard, because it's all behind the scenes. The only time that you're become aware of it is that you can't get a connection. But it's up to the device manufacturer to choose which of the three main ecosystems they want to support, if not all, regardless of the underlying technology. So on the box, you'll see those works with Alexa, works with Google, works with HomePod or HomeKit. Now, this will hopefully in the next, in the coming years, we hope this will change, because there is a new standard, what is called Matter, M-A-T-T-E-R. rather unusual name for a standard, but it's the new wireless standard that several manufacturers are trying to work together to make a secure and reliable, seamless experience for the consumer. So there are more than 170 companies that are on board, including Google, Amazon, Apple, Samsung, and the Zigbee Alliance. With Matter, a Google Nest, for example, with Matter, a Google Nest Hub smart display could show the video feed from a Ring doorbell. But right now, they don't play well together. That won't happen. But under Matter, we hopefully that will occur. So you're now thinking about, well, what can I buy? Well, what I would do if I was going to just be a newbie that I want to start getting into home automation, I would begin with lighting because they're simple and easy to install. You can go to the big box store and buy a Google G bundle, which also comes with a Nex Mini. That the little donut looking device there is a speaker. And it's just a matter of just plugging the bulb up, screwing the bulb in the socket and powering up the Mini, and it will actually walk you through the steps to set that light bulb up. Now, once you have this part done, this little device will also control other devices. So you can add on as you go along, but you might just want to start just with light bulbs. I am a proponent that as seniors, we need to find a way, if we want to be able to live in place and find ways that we can make our life easier, that we don't have to be fumbling for lights or switches in the middle of the night. If we need to get up to go to the kitchen or the bathroom or whatever, we can just ask, say, turn on the lights in that certain room, and that happens for you. So this is a good beginning. So if you're in a situation today where you have a area that you need to travel, like a hallway, and you're always having to struggle to turn on, find the switch or leave the light on, you don't have to do that anymore. You can use a smart light bulb to take care of that. So the bulbs that you go with is going to depend on a couple of different factors. First, of course, including your budget, your home's design, and what sort of extra features you're willing to pony up for. So here are some picks that I think you might want to consider. These represent the upper and lower end of lights. The Philips Hue lights offer the most expansive and expensive feature-rich product line under the Hue and Friends of Hue branding. Life offers a plug-in bulb to retrofit your own lamps and begin life as a Kickstarter, but they're available for $99 each. Or you can go with a Wise bulb, and these are perfect for people that are on a budget, and I believe they're going for like $19 a piece. Now remember, you say, gosh, these are awfully expensive, but they're LED and they will last 10, 15 years before you have to actually need to replace them. And they all work with Alexa and Google Assistant. If you are interested in knowing what's going on around you, cameras is also a good investment. And you can install cameras anywhere and transmit vivid color video with audio directly to your TV or smartphone. So you can monitor what's happening in and around your home anywhere at any time. And there are both wired and wireless do-it-yourself models that are available for both indoor and outdoor use. Some of the smart webcams that you can choose from are Ring and the Nest Cam, as well as Arlo. And they're at different price points. And you can start off with one or several. I have one that I have mounted in my front bedroom that looks out over my front yard. And I can, I don't have that front bedroom is the only window that actually looks out to the front yard. And I can look at what's taking place from my bedroom or any other room in the house on my smartphone. And I find that very helpful if I'm curious of what's going on in the front of the house. So that sort of segues into security systems. So you might want to add security sensors for your windows, doors, motion glass breaking, smoke. They all can provide critical security information about your home, either at home or if you're away. And some of those that have been advertised that seem to be affordable is Simply Safe. It's a affordable, small, and strong home security that you can do it. That's a do-it-yourself project. And they offer all kinds of little different kits that you can buy or that are bundled together to suit whatever need that you might have. Another example would be the Ring alarm security system. With this set of motion detectors, you just mount those in the corner of any room, and you receive instant alerts on your phone or tablet when motion is detected. So a motion sensor switch will automatically also turn on your lights when you enter a room. It doesn't require any wiring. The device, you can just screw this particular device into a standard uncovered light socket, and it'll turn the lights off within minutes of leaving the room. And the motion, the senses at 360 degrees. One of the things that I have, one of the things I first got after I really got into started my home automation project is my thermostat. You can remote control them from anywhere in the house or the world for that matter, using a smartphone or tablet. And it will learn the temperature you like and build a schedule around it. It has auto schedule and also auto waste. Like when I leave the house, the thermostat will go into sleep mode, and it won't really fire up until I come back into the house. But there's also a safe degree, like if the temperature falls below a certain degree, it will automatically come on. But if it's within that range, it will not. So you get a lot of energy savings using an automated thermostat. Again, electronic access consists of door strikes, door locks, doorbell, intercoms, and a variety of electronic key systems that you can implement. You can unlock your door using fingerprint or code. What all locks have in common, you control and manage them with a smartphone or web app. I have a Wise door lock, which I installed about 3 or 4 months ago. And it has a keypad, which I can use to enter the house, or I can also use the app that's on my phone. But the thing I really like about this door lock is that when I go out and say for instance, go get the mail, I had almost invariably found myself leaving the door unlocked, because I just walk in and don't even think about turning around and turning the little thumbnail on the deadbolt. And so fortunately, I live in a quiet neighborhood, and there's not really a big issue of somebody running up and, forcing the door open. But nevertheless, I would leave that front door unlocked. But now I don't have to worry about it, because the door, when I shut it, within seconds, it automatically locks itself. And it also, there's a sidebar on this, is that I haven't had any guests lately, but if I'm expecting someone that's going to be coming to stay or visit, you're usually you're not really sure what the time they're going to arrive, and you have to wait around and do that sort of thing. Well, with one of these, you don't really have to. You can go about your business, and if they bring you up and says, I'm here, you can just tell them how to get into the house. And another thing that I also have added is an internet doorbell. And installing these is really a popular option for most do-it-yourselfers. And they really provide a level of security to your house and allow you to monitor your home's entryway from anywhere in the world. In addition to being able to answer the door, they offer HD cameras, they're Wi-Fi capable, they have image capture, night vision, and also some offer remote door unlocking and more. And the thing about that's really nice, you can even talk to someone at your front door from anywhere. So if a salesperson comes up to the door, you can, he doesn't necessarily know that you're in the house or not. You're talking to him. You could be talking to him from the Walmart for that matter, and they would never know. So there's some advantages of using these video doorbells. And another thing that probably you might be interested, since you all live there in Florida, is having outdoor lawn sprinklers. And I know that can be a real hassle as far as having the water on at a certain time, particularly if you have water controls and all this. And to mess with those mechanical sprinkler systems can be just a real headache. Well, I got rid of mine, and I now have a internet-based one that is tied to the National Weather Service, so it knows when it needs to water and when it doesn't need to water. So it's just really made my life a lot simpler as far as keeping my yard watered, and I don't have to worry about it coming on in the middle when it's raining outside and the sprinklers are going on. That just doesn't happen anymore. So, and these are very inexpensive and very easy to set up. So if you're going to be setting up your smart home devices, let's just talk about a few things that we can do. Big smart home brands offer easy compatibility with major ecosystems. Philips Hue bulbs, for example, can be added directly from your Google Home or Apple Home apps. But unfortunately, this isn't always the case. There are some devices that require you to use a third-party app for the initial setup at the very least, and possibly also for configuration and control. The setup guide that comes with your smart home device generally will direct you to go to the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store to download the companion app. In some cases, you might have to scan a QR code or enter a special serial number, but you usually have both options. So don't be thrown by the fact that, oh, I don't know how to do a QR code or any of that, because there's usually, there would be several ways to set this up. And these will awfully be in the little paperwork that comes with the device. So you want to hold on to that. You don't want to throw it out just in case you have to go back and redo it. But for any smart home device, it's really important to find a suitable spot. They may need power outlet or a decent Wi-Fi signal. Also consider accessibility, especially if it's a battery powered device that's going to require periodic charging. You want to stick with a consistent naming convention. Voice commands must be precise or they won't work. For instance, you want to say, turn on the living room lights or turn on the office lights. You want to have a specific command so it understands. When you have multiple lights in a single room, you probably will want, such as lights, you can number them to go by area. In the case of my kitchen, I have 6 overhead can lights. They're all sport lights, but they all have a number. So I could, and this is something that was an added bonus, is that before when I turn the light switch, all 6 lights would come on. But say, for instance, I don't want all 6 lights. Maybe I just want 1 light to come on. It's all I need for what I'm going to be doing. So I can tell it, turn on light number 2 or number 1. And that's the only light that will come on. So I don't have to burn all the lights if I don't want to. Security. That's a big question for a lot of people. They want to know, well, how secure are these IO devices? IoT devices, I should say, because you hear stories about, well, this speaker has been spying on me. I'm hearing voices that's coming from it, etc. Remember that all smart home devices can have microphones and cameras inside them, which can have some implications for your privacy. And there's always a risk for security breaches, which can expose personal information or recording stored in the cloud. So what you want to do, you want to read the manufacturer's privacy policy, make sure you're comfortable with how that device uses your data. And it's also a good idea to do some research on the smart home device that you are interested to see exactly, see if that particular device had been part of any recent hacks or issues. So we're down to troubleshooting. No matter how closely you follow instructions, things can and frequently do go wrong when you're setting up a smart home device. So I'm going to offer a few tips that I've learned along the way. First, you want to check that your phone is connected, not just the same network, but to the same Wi-Fi band as the device you're setting up. That's really crucial, that everything has to be on the same network or else you're going to have issues. And most devices will ask when you first set it up, which Wi-Fi network you want to be on. And it'll find it, and you just select that one and you'll probably be okay. Some routers choose the band automatically, but you can sometimes get around that by going to the right distance away from the router for it to switch from 5 gigahertz to 2.4. Most routers are dual band. They'll have 5 gigahertz and they'll have 2.4. So depending on the device, if it's capable of both bands, the 5 gigahertz and the 2.4, it probably will try to connect to the 5 gigahertz. But that may not be suitable for where you're going to be placing the device because it's going to be a distance and you'll get a better response if you use a 2.4. So if you go a distance away from the router, you might be able to get it to trick it to connect to the 2.4. Or if it shows in your menu as that you have a choice between the two, you just need to make a decision based on the distance of where you're going to place the device. If the setup doesn't work, repeat the process. I've had to go and redo it several times before I got everything connected. That's not really unusual. So just be patient, and it'll soon, everything will soon work for you. Some devices fail or hang indefinitely at first, but if you quit and load the app again, they'll often connect straight away. Turning things off and on again, it works surprisingly often, applies to smart home devices too. You know, when we reboot our computer, things seem to work. Well, these devices are no different. You also want to check and make sure your router has the latest firmware. And then again, sometime even if you can go and reboot your router, and that will make things work as well. I try to reboot my router once a month, even though it doesn't need it, but I think it's just kind of the routine, just like rebooting your computer. I just, when I go to bed, I just use my tablet and just, on my router, I have an app which I can say restart the system, and I just click that and it, everything just restarts. You also want to search online and be specific about the model of the device if you have an issue. As a lot of people say, Google's your friend. You also can check the support forums to see if there's a thread about discussing any issue that you might be having. And then, as I said, not only the router, but you also, most devices will have a factory reset button that you can use to clear any stored data that's conflicting with what you're trying to do. Check the instructions for how to return the device to factory conditions, and consider also deleting and reinstalling any companion apps so that you can try a fresh setup from scratch. And again, turn things off and on again. So if you've already rebooted the smart home device to no avail, then try rebooting your router. We talked about that. You should also check that the router has the latest firmware. We said that. Searching online to be specific about the model device and issue you're having. Look at the support forums and see if you can find a thread discussing your issue. And if you're lucky, someone probably has had the same problem and they have a workaround. So my final thoughts are this. If you want to create a smart home that's perfectly suits your needs and budget, plan ahead, plan thoroughly. That way you'll make sure that everyone will be happy with the solutions and there won't be any costly surprises. Make sure to predict how you will use it, create a building floor plan that shows all the wiring and where the smart devices are going to be placed. Choose the right technology that will communicate with and connect all your smart devices. Only with a good home automation plan will you ensure that you have a smart home that you genuinely enjoy without any surprises to your budget. Integration. Decide what devices work well together. Consider voice activation. Do you want to be able to control devices by voice using your Google Home or your Amazon Alexa or your Apple HomeKit? Also inventory, what you have on hand, phones, tablets, devices that are standalone but are currently controlled with a phone or tablet. Again, we talked about budget. How much do you want to spend on your project? One company stands out in stretching your budget for home automation. The startup company Wise is worth checking out. Their products are of good quality and they are inexpensive. You can find everything from thermostats to plugs, locks, and doorbells. So remember, we used to clap our hands to turn the lights on. We clapped them again to turn the lights off. Magic, that was in 1986. Home automation has come a long way since those humble days of the clapper. There are lots of more choices of different home automation technologies, products, all claiming to be the best home automation system. So make your choices wise and enjoy. So that completes my presentation and I'm open for any questions. Hopefully I can answer them. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
Okay. Okay, we do have one question in the chat. Can you see it, Bill, or do you want me to read it to you?
Would you read it to me, please?
Okay, it says, how to prevent the network that is used to control home devices from providing access to the outside web, which would allow, in theory, access to your home devices and mess around with your home security system. Is it possible to have the Wi-Fi controlling the home devices not connected to the internet while the modem still allows computer, etc., access to the web?
Oh, it's a lot of stuff to unpack, but most of these IoT devices rely on a server that is located at its home company. So it's always, what's the old saying, talking back to the company which it was built, that's where the information resides. Most of them are going to be cloud-based, so you need to have the internet connection. The only thing I think that's important that you need to be is make sure you have a strong passwords on your devices. Also have our firewall, which is built into most operating systems these days, and also the routers. I would rely on making sure I had an up-to-date and good router. That would be my my answer to that question. But I don't think you can have anything connected that will work internally without also being connected to the internet.
Okay, that was from Shmuel. Does anybody, if anybody else has a question?
They might, somebody else might have a different opinion of that, but that's my understanding.
Okay. Are there any other questions? You can raise your hand or type it into the chat. We'll give you a moment. Okay, I think Judy wants to say something. Go ahead.
I just have a comment. I too am into home automation and having a ball with it. And mine often goes on strike because I have Spectrum and it drops it, which is unfortunate. But do think about, sit down and think about what you are going to do. And are you going to be a Google person? Are you going to be an Alexa person? And go from there. That's, really important as to what your system is that you like. I'm a Google person, so everything works with that. But I have an August lock, and I have other things that are all of the same ecosystem. So again, think about it, and please, it's vital that you get a lock with a key. I was on a meeting months ago, and this gal said she had just come back to Florida. You can imagine how long ago that was, 2020. And she said the electricity had gone out. She could not get into her house. She only had the keypad, and she had the keypad for her garage door, and she was up a creek without a paddle. And we all said, you need to get a lock with a key just in case that happens. But as I go into my garage and say, turn on the garage lights, I'm perfectly capable of flipping the switch. But like Bill says, we're getting ready for aging in place. And I just think it's fun. And I'm having just a lot of fun with it. Also, be aware of when you name things, like I have the hall bathroom. Well, I just said the bathroom. And in mine, it's my bathroom. I should have said the hall bathroom just to make it a little bit more definitive. So these are the kinds of things that you need to think about, but you can say what you call it. And I'm going to tattle on Bill here. He's got 1.5 tons of home automation, and he names everything. And it is more fun. Sudsy and Bounce are his washer and dryer. He can tell Sudsy to start doing the laundry. And when Sudsy is finished, Sudsy says, I'm finished with it. And we haven't figured out, though, how we can get the door to open and the clothes to fly into the dryer. And when Bounce is finished, Bounce says, hey, buddy, I'm all done. And if he sits there in his easy chair and doesn't get up, a while later it says, yo, do you want me to run it through a just cycle so it doesn't wrinkle? And his robotic vacuum is called Herman. Bob G's is called Alice too. That's his wife's name. JJ Johnson in a group in Illinois, his is Rosie. And then the guy in past Pasadena here, he didn't name his. But in one of my presentations, I have pictures of all of them. And I think, so remember, Name everything you get because it just makes it more fun. And Gladys from Bewitched is the light that he said is outside that bedroom window on the front. And she's Gladys from the neighbor across the street in Bewitched. So if you do get into home automation, please just have a really good time with it because it is a lot of fun.
That's true.
Okay, for
I
those
was
of you,
going to,
for those of you
um,
who didn't recognize Judy, Judy is, I think, in California. Am I correct? Yes, she's
35
one of the
miles
direct-
northwest of Los Angeles.
Okay, she's one of the directors of APCUG, and that's how we were able to get such an excellent speaker tonight. Thank you so much, Bill. That really was a very, very well done presentation. I'd love to get started. I don't know whether I have the time to do it, but it really sounds like a great idea.
well, you have an Alexa Echo behind you. Are you
Yeah,
using
just to
that?
put it in for for now. I'm not really crazy about Alexa. I have it mainly. I just ask what the weather is every day.
Yeah. I was going to show, I think I was going to show, if I have time, I was going to show you my devices on my iPad.
Yep, do that.
If anybody's interested. Let me see if I can do that.
Okay.
And while he's getting ready, I just want to say I'm not a director. I'm an advisor.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And I happen to be the chair of the board of advisors and chair of a gazillion other things, but the advisors are the ones that, again, have fun. We liaison with the groups. The directors get the boring stuff. They run the organization. And right now I am the acting advisor for your region, Region 5. So if you have any questions, shoot me an email.
Okay. I'm going to, can you see my iPad?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I use the Google Home application, which is on my iPad. And here's all the devices that I have. Now, currently, this is an outdoor plug that is controlling, believe it or not, my Christmas lights are already up. Not my doing, but the company that I use, they put them up last week. But I did attach them to a smart plug. So I can control that. I can turn those on and off from my iPad. Plus right now, there are 4 lights are on in the breakfast room that I can turn on. Plus I have a kitchen display here that I can use. There's an entry light. Here's the front door. Whoops, sorry. Here's the front door lock. And then there's Gladys. That's the webcam that's looking out over the front yard. And then I have some, a hallway thermostat. There's 6 lights on in the kitchen. There's Sudsy and Bounce.
Oh,
And if I click on Bounce, it'll come up and you can see that right now it's on permanent press, but I could change that. But there's a power control. If I press that, that will actually turn it on. Now, these all have their own individual apps that that I could use. Like, say, for instance, let me see if I can go here to okay, here's the Wise. This is the company I was telling you about. And so here, as you can see, they, even though they have individual apps, I can still go in and use the that central control to look at them. But say, for instance, if I was interested in looking at what's going on outside, right now you're looking at my front yard.
Oh. Wow.
And the same here if This right here is that sprinkler system I was telling you about. It will load up. It tells me what areas of the yard I can water if I want to, or it's set on a schedule where I do not have to actually do anything with it. And based on the weather conditions, you see it says a 5-day forecast. So the temperatures have kind of fallen, so it's not actually going to probably run the sprinkler system anytime soon. But I can force it to go ahead and water if I want to, just by choosing which zone I want to use. And again, this is the vacuum cleaner. You can see where it's actually, this vacuum cleaner will actually clean in straight lines, and it will go around furniture. So it's already mapped out the house, and it will then clean those areas. You notice I have this red area right here, that's the bathroom. When it goes in there, it gets confused because there's a black carpet and it thinks it's a hole, and it just goes crazy in there. I don't know. So I just block it off so it doesn't have to go in there. But it will avoid that area, but it'll clean everything else. And it cleaned up 676 feet, and it took 5 hours. Now, the interesting thing, the dog doesn't seem to be concerned with that vacuum at all. Although if I get the upright vacuum out, he just goes crazy. I've never really figured out why the robotic vacuum seems to be more dog friendly. One other, I see the other apps that I can go separately is if I can find them. Okay, this is the Nest. And again, these were all in my Google Home, but I can show you where the individual ones work. So right now, this is the front door, and this is actually coming from the doorbell. So it's showing the front of my house. And as you can see right there, that little box, that's the keypad that actually will allow me to get into the front door. But now this is a deadbolt system. In other words, the module that I purchased goes over the existing deadbolt. And so I still have a physical key that I can open that door with. Should this fail, I can still get in the house because it's actually, the lock is actually attached to the deadbolt. But I can also talk, and it gives a little history of all the activities that took place during the day. For the thermostat, which is also in this app, is right here. So it's currently set at 76 degrees. But I could also change it. You see it now, I have the thermostat dial. I could rotate that to change the temperature. I don't have to get up and go to the hallway to do it. I could do it from if I have my iPad, which I usually do have my nightstand, I can control everything from here. So, and that really didn't take a lot of effort to set it up. It was the fact that you take your phone, you get the device, and the little instructions will just walk you through it. You usually will have to have a tablet or a phone in order to accomplish the task, but it's really simple. And once it's there, you're done.
Okay, very good. That was real interesting to see. Herman is the name of your vacuum?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay.
You have to be aware with Wise that their stuff is from China and a lot of their things are back ordered.
Well, it's
So
okay.
until the supply chain has been fixed, you take your chances if you go with the Wise bulbs. The guy with the unnamed robot vacuum, his needs a part and the parts are back ordered. So he's up a creek and he's not a happy camper about that.
Yeah,
And I do believe if you pair your phone with your computer, you can also see exactly what Bill showed you you can get on your tablet.
right. In Windows 10 and 11, there is something called Your Phone, which works really well with Android phones, not so well with Apple devices. But again, I can share my screen and just briefly show that.
Okay, let's just make this the last thing, I think.
Oh, sure, no problem. So this is Your Phone, and as you can see, it has all kinds of stuff. Like you can go to your photos, you can go to your apps, and here's your apps that are actually on my phone, which actually mirror the same ones that are on my iPad. So I can easily go and use this as well as a means of controlling those devices.
Oh,
So that's available in Windows 10 and Windows 11.
okay. Well, thank you very, very much. This was really a very enjoyable and informative presentation. And thank you, Judy, for helping us get this started, for getting us back into APCUG, which, by the way, they have conferences, as we've been sending emails out. I think it's 4 times a year. Is that it? The VTCs?
We have Wednesday workshops at
And
least
Wednesday
2 or
workshops.
3 times a month on all kinds of different things. Sometimes we have 2 presentations on a Wednesday. So lots of stuff to learn.
Okay, very good. All right, well, thank you again. And we
You're
look
most
forward-
welcome. Thank you for the invitation. And I hope to be able to give you another presentation in the future.
Okay, we'll look forward to it. Thank you very much and good night, everybody.
Good night.